Hello, friends. This is Tony DeSanz, Space Rocker of the planet Earth, back with another video. And if it looks like you've seen a ghost, if you regularly see my videos every now and then, it's because you might be looking at a ghost right now. And I'm going to explain that to you in a few minutes. Well, it just so happens that I was kind of put into the little gas chamber yesterday. And what do I mean by that? Okay, I mean that I was put on a 1 day surgery deal, and that inquires you to go under the knife for about 4 hours. They give you the little happy gas and kiss your life goodbye. But it's not as harsh as it seems. It's actually, with modern medicine these days, it's very simple process, really. And what it really is like you get into a nervous wreck because you're gonna be put to sleep and you don't know if you're gonna wake up. But in reality, they know what they're doing these days, and they not gonna let you die. So either way, I've gone through these things several times, and every time your mind goes through a lot of stuff and saying, okay, well, here we go again with the little happy gas. And I'm not too fond of needles. I don't like people poking on me with needles and stuff. But you gotta go through some things in life, and there's no other way around it. I've had friends that have gone through way worse than going through a little 1 day surgery kind of deal. And it's kind of funny because what it is they pump you up with that little gas. You never know what happens. Then they wake you up. They start pumping you up with a whole bunch of narcotics and say, once you wake up, the first thing they ask you, how you feel? Well, how am I gonna feel? You're like all dizzy and you can hardly open your eyes, and they asking you how you feel. But they say, are you dizzy? And they say, do you think you need some more medication? And they start pumping you up with narcotics and everything. And after about an hour, they come back and say, how you feel now? You think you can get up? You think we can get you out of here now? And so the whole thing might last 6 hours. And they put you on a wheelchair and throw you in your car, practically. And they said, good luck. Of course, you can't drive. You have somebody to drive for you, but anyways, the whole deal is like very surreal. And those of you that have gone through it and understand that this is the process we're going to be able to become either bionic or cyborgs. Okay? Because they're going to be making us bionics on the limbs or whatever, or cyborgs of the future. And that's the way we're going. And we actually can't do nothing about that. I don't think so. Because if you want to stay alive, you got to trust it. But enough of that. Enough of that rigmarole. And let's start with a little meaty stuff, with the not so fake news of the day. The not so fake news. And of course, we all know that the hype up new Pope It's gonna be in the words, in the mouth, and the words of the people for quite a long time now, until we get used to this. The Pope Leo the 14th, Pope Leo the 14th, and that's gonna be an American Pope for over 1.4 billion people that are Catholic, supposedly, around the world. So it's a big deal. And even the president's weighing in on congratulating the new Pope. It seems like everything American these days is being celebrated. And I'm happy about that. Because no matter what people think, this is still the greatest country in the world. And there's nothing better than this. And you can argue with me until you like blue in the face. But you're not gonna convince me that this is not the greatest country in the world, because it is. And I've been around the world a few times over, so I could tell you this much. This is the best country in the world so far, where you can start with nothing and become somebody in a matter of years. Not a matter of a whole bunch of years, but a matter of a few years. And that's why people want to cross that border, and that's why people want to come in. And like a friend of mine said, once I'm above that border, I wanna be looking at the last brick that they put on. But he wants to be on this side. Yes, because this is the greatest country in the world. And of course, the greatest country in the world is going to negotiate now, this weekend exactly, with China. The 145% China tariffs is being hinted that it's going to go down to 80%. But they also announced something else. I don't know if you saw that, but they also announced that the 145% tariffs of some items already got to the ports. So we are going to be paying more for those items that they're bringing right now in the months to come, because those items are going to be unloaded, they're going to be put in the stores at a higher price. So my advice to you is to check out if it's a need or it's a want. If you really need it, then you get it. If you just want it and it can wait, it's better wait now. It's better to wait. And that's what I have to say about that, because we're going to be paying those prices in the months to come. Probably, 4 or 5 months from now. So all the way to maybe October, we're going to be paying high prices for things that we usually get. They don't have to do with things we need, but things we usually get. Because of course, the needs: water, food, and oxygen. Water, food, and oxygen. And you have to pay for all three items. Some people more than others, okay? Because it's a funny story, but it's true. In this country, you also pay for oxygen. And why do I say that? That's because oxygen is not free in this country. The oxygen you breathe gets either taxed or put into a mortgage or put into a car payment or put into the air conditioning that you breathe And it's funny about that because, like, way back in the day, the early 90s, I had a friend of mine that was making fun of his car. And he said, "You want to ride?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." At the time, I didn't even have a car. I didn't even own a car at the time. And he wanted to give me a ride. And he said, "Well, I got Mexican air conditioning." And I said, "What do you mean?" I got Mexican air conditioning. And we're in the middle of Virginia, okay? And he's rolling down the windows. And I said, "This is not Mexican air conditioning." "Yeah, because I don't have any air conditioning in this car. The car came without air conditioning." And I said, "Yeah, but that's your fault, man. Because the air that we're breathing is from Virginia." And he said, "Nah, that air that we're breathing coming from Mexico, man." And he was pretty adamant about that. And I say, "I'm not gonna argue with you, but I'm pretty sure it's from Virginia." And so let's just leave it at that. But I thought it was funny at the time, and now, with the whole deal with Canada, and that we're gonna buy Canada, and it's gonna be the 51st state. You never say never deal, and we might be saying that we need oxygen from the polar vortex. And when we get those cold fronts and the polar vortex that throws all that air down and everything, then we can breathe a little easier. So, I mean, this country, you have to pay for everything. You have to pay for food, you have to pay for water, and you have to pay for oxygen. And anybody can argue with me about that, but the air you breathe is being taxed, is being mortgaged, is being put into car payments, is being put into insurance. So think about that one for a minute. But anyways, going back to what's gonna be happening and what we can expect about these negotiations this weekend. They all gonna have a fun time over there wherever they go, in Switzerland or whatever, because the negotiations are not gonna happen in China. It's gonna happen somewhere else. And of course, they're gonna meet in an undisclosed, secretly location where you and I cannot go. And they're all gonna get together and they're gonna say, "Okay, can we do 80?" And the Chinese going like, "Okay, we can start with that." And so the Chinese are coming back and say, "Well, you're gonna have to pay us 60." I'm just putting an example. And it's gonna go like 80-60 or 80-50 or whatever. And then from then on, like 3, 4, 5 months from now, those are gonna take effect. And things are gonna be lowering a little bit. And that's mainly what's gonna happen. So you gotta play the waiting game. You gotta play that I'm not gonna be spending money on stuff that I don't need. You're gonna be playing the game of maybe stocking up on some stuff that you're gonna need like later on during the year, in October, November, December. And Christmas time is like a very important time in this country. So everybody wants to have a jolly old time. And we don't know if we're gonna have it or not. Maybe this is gonna be the year. where Santa Claus is gonna appear. Because as you know, and you've seen it in my video, Santa Claus been gone for about the last 7, 8 years now. And we don't know where he's at. But we know Rudolph got drunk. And he's been seen in the city of New Orleans. So, enough of all that rigmarole. Santa Claus got lost because Rudolph got drunk. There's a donkey that came to save Christmas. And he's a donkey that came from Bethlehem. And that's in my last video. But you're just going to have to go through it and see what happens. And with this one, I want to say hi to everybody. I want to say hi to all the people around the world that follow my videos and follow my music. I know who you are, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is Tony Desan, space rocker of the planet Earth, still living in this beautiful planet called Earth today. Have you seen a ghost yet?